Perfect. Okay, so Bill, are you okay that we're recording this interview today?
Absolutely.
Very good. And are you okay that this interview is being shared on the podcast, on PathMonk's blog, as well as a snippet of it on social media, such as LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
Cool. So for everybody who is listening in and has heard about PathMonk but was wondering what it actually is, let me give you guys a quick overview before we jump into today's episode. So if you think about your website and the conversions, there's a couple of interesting questions, such as which actions of a visitor actually show that they're ready to convert? And what type of content do you need to show them to then finally boost the conversion? The answers are hidden in the activity, the user activity on the website, and therefore PathMonk is an artificial intelligence website plugin for marketeers and business owners to increase demos, trials, leads, sales with zero changes to the website required. But enough about PathMonk. We are not here to deep dive into PathMonk today. We are much more so talking about the Web Marketing Association, a very interesting competition, and the person behind that, Bill Rice, who is going to be giving us a glimpse into what the Web Marketing Association is, how they work, and also maybe how he's able to translate that knowledge into its own project that he's working on, the Cookbook project. So Bill, I'm very pleased to welcome you on the show today.
Hi, Lucas. Thank you for having me.
Very cool. So tell us about maybe the Web Marketing Association and the competitions that you're running so that people can get an overview.
Okay, great. Well, the Web Marketing Association was formed in Boston in 1997. The online marketing community was just beginning, and our goal was to help them better understand the current standard of excellence for website development. We decided that an award program that recognized and rewarded outstanding website development would be the best way to accomplish this. That's when we began the Web Award competition for website development. It recognizes individual and team achievements of web professionals in 96 different industries all over the world who create and maintain outstanding websites. Now it's in its 24th year, and we've received entries from 52 countries around the year. From around the world. We also began 2 additional award programs since we were first founded. First, we came up with the Internet Advertising Competition, or the IAC Awards, back in 2002. This reviews all forms of online advertising. And then we added the Mobile Web Awards in 2012, which recognized the impact of mobile devices have had on internet marketing.
Yeah, very interesting. If you can give us an idea about this web award that you're giving out, like, what types of businesses would you see handing in applications, and maybe if you can sort of give an understanding for everybody listening, if they would be sort of a right type of business to maybe go ahead and apply.
Well, it really runs the gamut. Like I said, we have 96 different industry categories. And that's done specifically because, everyone has, they don't want to compete against every website out there. They want to compete against the websites that they compete with on a business level. So if you are a manufacturing website, the needs of your audience are going to be very different than a consumer services website or an airline website. So what we tend to do is group websites within a specific industry and then judge them against their peer group, which we find is much more effective. And like I said, we've been doing this for 24 years now, so we have kind of developed as we have seen changes in the standards of excellence, what the judges look for changes every year, which is why we get people coming back time and time again to participate. But websites are judged on 7 different criteria, including design, innovation, content, use of technology, interactivity, copywriting, and ease of use. It's not just a beauty contest. We really want to take a look at everything that a website is doing and making sure that we recognize people who get it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm curious to ask, because you've been seeing websites evolving for many years now from a very specific angle, right? Across those categories actually that you were
Right.
describing. What's your overall take? Like, how would you describe the development? It's a bit of a generic question, but how would you describe the development of web pages? Like, which, is there a trend that you're seeing? Is there something that you're spotting that you're excited about? Like, what's your perspective in your unique role on that?
Right. Well, back in 1997, just having a website put you ahead of a lot of the competition. And most websites were just repurposed marketing materials that they had been printing and taking some of those files and those images and putting them into HTML and putting them online. So they were really just static billboards on the internet. And that's kind of what got it started. And then we started being able to do transactions, which really opened the gates, and people saw that it's not just good to have a website, it was required for many businesses. And once the 2000s kind of rolled around and 2010s, really the database structure of websites really started to take hold, and personalization really became the buzzword and the standard of excellence, where you could see who was coming in and you could remember who they were with the introduction of cookies or getting people to sign in. And then you could tailor the experience to what they really wanted from you. And you could learn from the actions that they came in on the site, kind of like Pathmark does today, at a much higher level, and give them an experience that made it worth them sticking around. And that has continued today, where websites are no longer just the same for everyone. The best websites really identify what people are looking for and can deliver it on a very effective method.
Yeah. With your perspective into sort of the path of the web development, like what is something that you see into the future? Like what do you think is going to be sort of the main streams of, changes that will hit, web development and the pages, the websites and the importance? Like, is there something that you kind of foresee?
Well, it's really tough because as soon as you think you know what's going to happen, the internet will veer the other way and bring up something unexpected. Again, I think big data is driving a lot of things. Having a strong understanding of who your customer is and what you want to do is where you start, and then providing the information that they need. The problem is, I think, that most corporations face today is a silo mentality. One department does not necessarily talk to the others in terms of what needs to get done. It's all about what does my department need for my section of the website. And really, I think the best websites are those that have been able to break down all those barriers and deliver a seamless experience to the end user.
Yep. Very good. With Pathmark, we've been very involved into conversion rate optimization, right? Helping companies to win more leads from their websites. What's your perspective on conversion rates? Because what we've been seeing, right, talking to many businesses out there, conversion rate optimization or conversion rate is a concept that is not really in everybody's mind. Like not everybody thinks about, how do you convert at a certain rate visitors from your website? Like, what's your perspective on the role of conversion rate with, the involvement of websites that you've been seeing?
Well, to be honest with you, that's where the money is. If everyone focuses on getting people to their website, but if you build it, they will come does not exist anymore. And marketing budgets spend a lot of money to bring people to their websites through multiple channels. And if your website does not do a good job at figuring out what they're looking for and getting them the right information at the right time, they're just going to bounce off to the next listing on Google. By having to pay Google and other search engines and, paying for banner ads and any other way you drive traffic to your site. Once you get them there, you have to convert them, and that's where it really your business really has to be aligned with what people are looking for, and knowing how to deliver is going to make you effective.
Is there something that you've learned in terms of this conversion rate that we were speaking here on pages that maybe surprised you? Very often it's the counterintuitive things that work. Like, what is maybe a war story, a learning that you have in that regard?
Well, in my, Web Marketing Association is a volunteer position. We're run all by volunteers and always have been. I run a website called Family Cookbook Project, which helps families and individuals and fundraisers create personalized cookbooks online. And we've been doing this for 15 years, and it's been a wonderful success, except my target audience are typically women 50 to 70. And while I'm in that age demographic, women in this age demographic think very differently than I do. So it's tough to get out of your own experiences to be able to anticipate what another demographic is really looking for. I mean, your common sense and everything, but especially when your market is very different than yourself, it's very difficult to have a true understanding of what they're looking for and what makes them click that button.
Yeah, I think that's a situation that probably a lot of people have in one or the other way. Like, what's your way to deal with this? Like, how do you try to, speak that language, build up the website in a way that it really clicks with this type of demographic that you sort of addressing?
Well, the way we typically have done it is through surveys. We have a very dedicated audience, and both with the Web Marketing Association and Family Cookbook Project, every year we survey our audience and ask them, what do they like, what do they don't like. But we also take a look at the data and see, that their click paths of how they're coming into their websites, what are the ads that are working the best and delivering the most traffic to us, and then building on those stories. I mean, I think one of the reasons why Google Ads has been so effective is they've gone to a dynamic ad model a lot of the times, where they'll mix and match for you the images, the headlines, and the descriptions to come up with the stories that are resonating most with the different audiences.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Very interesting. Maybe one thing that I'm curious about before we switching gears and talking about you personally a little bit, in terms of analytics, like obviously also the what you're able to measure has changed quite a bit, and now in many cases there is more data available than you can draw actual conclusions from. So what's your take on that? Like, what have you seen to be data that you really that is important for you and your decision making?
Yeah, well, big data is what it says. It's big. There's a lot of stuff out there. And I think one of the hardest parts that I have is knowing what are the important points to evaluate when trying to figure out if a particular campaign was a success or not. Mm-hmm. You can kind of get overwhelmed. I mean, you have certain metrics that you like to focus on, but are those really the best metrics to look at to get your point across? So you really need to reach out to experts in the field who really understand it and can look at aspects of your business that you necessarily would not have done. And we have a lot of volunteers on that help us with the Web Awards that have a better understanding of this than I do. So we are constantly reaching out to them to see how could we have done this better.
Gotcha. Very cool. For anybody who's interested in the Family Cookbook project that you're running, what would be the URL that they should head over to?
Matter of fact, it's just familycookbookproject.com.
Perfect.
And it's a great way if you're looking for, especially with Mother's Day coming up in the United States, something to give your mother or a family member to preserve recipes for generations. And it also is an online recipe box. So if you're in the grocery store and you want to make something for breakfast the next day and don't quite remember what's in it, you can pull out the app on your phone, pull it up, and you can see exactly what's in it. So you can do your grocery shopping effectively.
Very cool. I'm just heading over to the website here. Is there, maybe last question on the topic of conversion that we were covering here today? Is there something that you've learned specifically for familycookbookproject.com in terms of how you were able to, get more people started and getting maybe signed up to receive a cookbook? Or is there anything that you learned that, made a change in terms of the conversion rate?
Well, I think that with my experience in the Web Marketing Association, a lot of that has transferred into Family Cookbook Project and vice versa. I mean, when you're in the trenches, every time you see something, you think, wait, maybe I can use that somewhere else.
Yep.
And we're constantly looking to tweak different campaigns to see how things are changed for the better. Does it have a negative impact? Are we spending too much? Are we spending too little? Mm-hmm. And and that's what being an online marketer is all about. It's a constant struggle for saving money, but yet bringing people to the website and converting them effectively. Yep. And turning them into actual business, which will fund the rest of your operations.
Very good. So let's switch gears just a little bit, since we're slowly coming to an end of the conversations. I would be very curious, just like, where do you educate yourself? Like, what are sources or people or books or whatever it is that really helps you to, educate yourself further on what makes a good website?
Well, I have a very interesting position as being president of the Web Marketing Association and having an award program for judging what is effective websites. So I actually see a lot of the comments that when someone enters the Web Awards, not only do they get their numerical scores that were used to evaluate their websites from multiple judges, they often will get comments. Mm-hmm. And I review a lot of the websites with a lot of the comments. So I'm seeing some of the top web developers in the world commenting on other people's websites. Now, we don't share those comments outside of just the participant themselves. They can share it if they choose to, but some of them can be very critical. It's good to get that kind of feedback, but you don't necessarily want your competitors to have it.
Yep.
So, but me being able to look at all that really has given me a very unique idea of what people are looking for these days and seeing how things are changing all the time.
Gotcha. What would be a recent topic that you researched maybe, or that you were sort of spotting with all the comments? Like, what is a theme or a topic that you're very interested in regards to websites at the moment?
Well, to be honest with you, we right now are accepting entries into the 24th Annual Web Awards. Mm-hmm. At www.webaward.org. I wouldn't be a true marketer if I didn't throw that in there.
Very good.
So, the data that I've been working with is now a year old. We announced our last competition results back in September. And, those results, I haven't been working with that data, so I don't know exactly what the major trends were back then. It'll be interesting now to see, particularly now with the pandemic that we happen to be in, what websites and businesses are doing other than putting a COVID-19 notice on their website. Yep. How they react to the sheltering in place that's going on all over the world, and how they will change their business to take advantage of the new changes in how people are living their lives.
Yeah, probably people should be watching out. Is there some report going to be after the awards, like those type of like trends that you're seeing? How can people sort of learn more about what you're learning in the awards there?
we do, the best way to do it is actually to come to our website at www.webaward.org and look at past winners, particularly in your industry. You can see who has been recognized and see how you compare to them. We have in the past looked at some of the trends, and when something really comes out, we'll put out a press release and we'll talk about it. A lot of times the changes that are going on are very incremental. This year may not be so. So we might be able to put out a report that really talks about some of the changes going on in web development because in response to COVID-19. But that's a little bit early to decide at this point.
Makes sense. Cool. So let's slowly wrap up the interview with a couple of rapid fire questions.
Sure.
It's only, I think, 4 of them. So are you ready for those? It's usually 1 word or 1 sentence answer.
Oh, good enough.
Okay. So what's the one single thing that you're focused on right now with the Cookbook project the most?
I'd say like everything is converting our leads into sales.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be one thing that you would want to have fixed for the website of the Cookbook project?
To make it look more modern.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the Cookbook project?
I'm awake every night thinking about it. I mean, my mind just kind of works. So, but it's just, am I working as effectively as I can?
Cool. And the very last question, if you would start the Cookbook project today, what would be one advice that you would give yourself?
I guess if I had to do it all over again, I kind of like what I have done in the past. So I would kind of stick with the model because we got it out there and it has grown. We've had new features added. Luckily we have a very dedicated base and we learn from them. If they come up with a good idea, we'll implement it. So I think that's it.
So very good. So you would basically proceed the same direction as you.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Very good. So very good, Bill. I really appreciate that you've been part of the Pathfunk Presents podcast and this episode today. Thanks for showing us an insight into your projects and also the Web Marketing Association.
Great. Thank you, Lucas, for having me.